Well, hello there.
Well, hello.
Hey, welcome. Welcome to Simply Jewel Atypical podcast, where we are atypical of the average. So we have Pam online here. Pam is a breast cancer survivor. And hey, Pam, I would just like to talk to you about your journey. Is that okay?
Oh, sure. That'd be fine.
Okay. Well, we just like to welcome all the Simply Julians to the podcast. And I would just like to ask you about your journey, like what year, and let you take it from there.
That was 2007. Actually, the year December 2006, we had in Denver, Colorado, we had a horrible snowstorm, and that's my last breast exam was scheduled in December, and I couldn't make it. And it was probably earlier in the year, of course, while I was at church. Everybody wants to squeeze and hug you, hello and goodbye. And I kept feeling this pressure, this pain in my right breast. And I thought, geez, what is that? So that's why I had made the appointment to go have the mammogram done. And it snowed, so I couldn't go, and I was snowed in. And
oh wow.
Yeah, couldn't go in. So I thought, well, okay. So it had to be rescheduled, of course, for the following year. So went in, and then it just all snowballed from there. That's when my doctor checked me out. I got the diagnosis, and what she thought was a diagnosis. She actually didn't want to say anything right then and there. She, said, okay, I got 2 people I need for you to see before we come up with this diagnosis. So, and I respected that. So that's how that happened. And so then from there, it just snowballed into, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And it's truly a whirlwind type of thing. It's because they believe in cut and burn. That's their whole practice theory, even to today, is cut out whatever it is that seems to be the thing that's causing the problem. Cut it out, burn it out, and then move forward. I don't know how much more into specifics you wanted to get, or just the treatment side of it, or
Well, I kind of remember, like, what were you doing at that time? Were you taking black cohosh, I believe, and different vitamins, or did somebody tell you that's something to take for healthy choices, or did you just take that upon yourself? Did you notice that before or after?
I was having those hot flashes, those perimenopause hot flashes, and just was trying to cope with them. And so I had done my own little investigation, and didn't want to take the estrogen that they try to give the ladies at that age. I was early 50s, and didn't really want to take that synthetic estrogen. And so I started doing some of my own investigation, and ran across the black cohosh, and it did wonders for my hot flashes. It did wonders for those hot flashes. but then so now it's been a few years that I'm taking it. And I'm noticing that at 50 something, my breasts are tender, my breasts are growing. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? Yeah, my breasts are growing. And so then fast forward. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, how much were you taking? Like, is it in units? Is it in milligrams?
They're these, well, at the time, I can't remember what the milligrams were, but it was according to the package you got. Probably, I don't know if at that time it was like a package about the size of an aspirin is what this little thing was, and you took one a day, I believe, and whatever it was enough to arrest, to stop the hot flashes. And that was, my intent, right? Because they got to be very uncomfortable. So I think I ended up taking them for at least a couple of years. And then that particular so somewhere like I would say summer of 2006, I kind of noticed, like I said, when I would get a hug at church, or if I would press on my breasts a certain way, that there was it's a little painful. And it would just be a flash, it'd just be a quick flash of pain. And I thought, okay.
Wow.
You're gonna have to go. Yeah, you're gonna have to go and get this looked at. And I also noticed that my breast was warm to the touch. And yes, our skin is warm, but this was unusually warm, if you will. So
okay, that's interesting, because which is good, because most people don't know what to look for or what to expect if there's any inkling of breast cancer. So what was the doctor's experience like? What was the treatment?
So fast forward into I've got my doctor says, okay, I'm gonna have to turn you over. Of course they have to turn you over to the specialist, what do they call them, the is it oncologist, the doctor that's going to be doing the cancer care, putting you through coming up with the drugs that you're going to have to be taking, and then there's always a surgeon, and I will never forget her. I won't mention her by name, but I'll never forget her because she was a well-known surgeon here in Colorado. I don't know if she still is, and that was all she did was surgery on breast cancer patients. So
wow. Did you lose your hair at that time?
Oh, did I lose my hair? Yes, I did. And at the time, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, so you did lose your hair, but what stage were you at?
You know what? I still have some of these papers, and I have the original documents where I got the diagnosis. I have the original document where they decided what type of chemo. There were 3 types of chemo that they were going to give me every 3 weeks. Do you know they never staged it? They never staged.
Oh, wow.
They never staged it.
Okay.
Now, maybe they had a reason for that. Maybe they had a reason for not saying. I just remember having the biopsy done and them telling me that it was a fast-growing cancer. That's all I remember as far as that. But they never. There's never a stage here. And yes, probably after, I would say, like the 4th round, the hair started to fall, because I think I was wearing either I was wearing braids or I was wearing a weave. And so I literally just cut that out, because they were literally, I think it was braids, because they were literally hanging on by just threads, and just cut them out. And,
Wow.
had my son shave my head.
Wow. And did you have any side effects? Like, were you nauseated, or did you eat anything in particular to help you with your journey?
After they gave me a list of things to do for mouth care, and it had to be done prior to taking any of these drugs, because they were done intravenously. And you had to rinse your mouth out with, and I had to go to Walmart and get this special rinse, and combine it with baking soda, because it almost did like toughened up the mouth, if you will, and inside of the mouth, to prevent sores, because you got these almost like canker sores from the treatment. So you know how sometimes they say that the treatment is a lot worse than whatever your cure is going to be. The treatment of it is far worse. And one time I didn't do that mouth rinse procedure very well, and I ended up with a few sores in my mouth. Like I say, they're very painful. So I would do that, and then I would go in and sit for at least a couple of hours. I had another dear friend of mine that would take me to all my appointments and sit there with me as they. I ended up getting a shunt in my arm, and I know you know what that is. It was in my forearm. I still have the scar today, because my veins were too little, and they couldn't really get. They were afraid of collapsing and whatever other things that happened. So I ended up getting this shunt. And so and that allows them, so it's, I don't know if I can describe it, but it allows them to puncture the shunt. It had little legs on it that fed into your veins. And so that way it could get right into the system the way it needed to. So once I had so that's why I think it took so long, because it was 3 different drugs. So it was at least a 2-hour session, and they would run this one, and they would run that one, and they would run the next one. And then once I got home, I never felt really any ill effect while I was there. But once I got home, I just laid in the bed, because everything would just spin around. And I think I got nauseous once or twice, I think. But most of the time I would just lay in the bed in this fetal position and just curl up, and it would be me and Jesus, because I'd be talking to him about making the room stop spinning, because it was just going around.
I am sorry to hear that. It's always nice to hear everyone's story and everyone's experience about cancer, which goes to show you everybody's body chemistry is different. And you're a petite woman. So
I got sick one time in the office during the well, maybe I'll say twice, during the actual intravenous medication being given to me. And for some reason I had an apple. I must have been hungry, so I was eating this apple and taking the intravenous drugs at the time. Taxotere is one of those ones that you hear about all the time, and that was one of the main ones I was given, and I got nauseous from there. So I had her unhook me, went into the bathroom to throw up. And Joel, I'm not one that even throws up. That kind of doesn't even work. That reflex, that gag reflex, my gag reflex doesn't even work. But I threw up that day. And and then had to go to the bathroom and discovered I was bleeding. I was bleeding from my rectum. And let the nurse know.
Oh,
So,
no.
and then she discovered, so this was a different nurse. It's not the same one that I had gotten. Each time I went in there, she was running the chemical through me too fast. So it basically was just burning me straight down, straight through.
See? Yeah, yeah. Unbelievable. Now that right there would make me look sideways, and I would have been afraid
Yeah.
thereafter. But now, not to cut it, but just to ask now, after you've made it through your journey, and you've gone through your rounds of chemo and moving forward, how are you now? And are there any side effects that you still have to deal with, or how are you feeling now?
I am feeling so good. God is so good. I don't think I could have made it through. Of course, I could not have made it through that. Having cancer was a year-long battle for me. I could not have gone through that without my faith in the Lord. And then I learned something about myself in the process, right? About how strong you are, or, you know, and then how strong you are in your faith. Because I remember telling myself, because, I had to have several surgeries. And so I remember telling myself, okay, when they told me you got to have one more surgery, I told myself, okay. I cried and I said, I'm going to allow you one ugly cry and that's it. Then you're not going to be able to, because you're going to you either have faith in the Lord that the Lord's going to bring you through, or you don't. And so I just told God, I said, I am going to hang on to the hem of your garment. And I said, nobody around me is going to know what I'm going through. That's going to be my testimony to you, that you're a God that heals and that you're a God that saves. So to answer your question, right after I went through 32 days of radiation too, and those were concessional. So 32 days of radiation every single day, and discovered that they were shooting me every day. And it was only for, I want to say, seconds, because, it's radiation. It's going to burn you. And that's what it's meant to do. And it was kind of around my clavicle bone. So right in there, for some reason, they were shooting me there. It was 2 spots that they aimed at, because I have a tattoo today. They tattooed the spots where they had to go and shoot through. And so for one, I was probably in my, 15th, 20th day, and happened to just get the mirror and turn around, because I could never see anything on the front side of my skin. I kept thinking, I know this stuff is burning me, but where? And so got my hand mirror and turned around, and I had a black circular mark right under my left shoulder blade that was probably about 5 to 6 inches in circumference.
Wow.
And
it moved.
Well, but see, I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know why they were giving me the radiation there. Like I said, maybe they saw something and decided they needed to give me the radiation there. Like I said, I don't know, but I do remember 2 things happening at the end of that radiation session, those 32 days. After the 32 days, I kept trying to do my exercises, and yes, I did get a little bit fatigued, but this particular day, I happened to be on the ground trying to lift my left arm and could not, because there was so much inflammation and so much heat that had built up in there, and it was so painful. I could not lift my arm. So it took me probably another 30 to 60 days of claiming my healing, cursing that pain in the name of Jesus and commanding it to go in the name of Jesus, and that I am healed from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. And it just went away. Now, you asked me, do I have any side effects? I had also gone to the dentist, and the dentist took x-ray, and he says to me, comes back, and he says, you said you just got through with chemo and radiation. And I said, yes. And he says, well, usually in those patients, I can see a deterioration of the bone under the gum in your mouth. He said, I don't see anything like that in you. And I said, well, thank you, Lord. Oh, wow. I said, thank you, Lord, because I used to imagine when I laid on that radiation table that there were angels' wings that were covering me. And taking that, just giving me whatever it thought I needed, but taking that radiation from me. And I am doing well, Jewel. I'm 65 now, and so that was in 2007. And I may have a little ache and pain, but by the time I command them to leave in the name of Jesus, I don't feel them anymore. And I'm healthy. I'm strong. So side effects, I want to say sometimes I think it has affected the memory of that process. And maybe that's good. I don't know that I need to remember all that happened to me.
Okay. Well, that's amazing, though. That's an experience that I know you'll never forget.
No.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Now, I'm just amazed listening to the story and the journey post cancer. That goes to show you, you really need to have a faith or strong faith when you're going through something horrific. And for those that haven't experienced such a thing, I will say it does help reduce cancer as well. It keeps the cancer cells from multiplying. It just gives you a better outlook on life and help you to cope and deal with such a horrific experience.
Well, you know what, Jewel, not to interrupt you, but I found out that taking the black cohosh was just like taking synthetic estrogen. So to me, that was the start of the problem, because I had years before, so let's say 5 years before, gone on this complete health kick journey. So I was eating well, I was exercising, and, just trying to be the best person that I could be. And then I found, like I said, because black cohosh, you're thinking, okay. But then as I continued to do some other things, I realized that some other investigation, I realized that it mimics estrogen in your body. And even prior to cancer, say way back when I was a 20-something-year-old girl, I remember the doctors telling me that I had an overabundance, if you will, of estrogen. So
oh, wow.
Yeah, so so I would always get the fibroid tumors, which they say is one of the leading signals that you have this overabundance of estrogen. You got this estrogen feeding these fibroids.
Fibroid tumors. I had those.
Fibroid tumors. So once I started to put all the things together, I realized that didn't help me, that the black cohosh, it helped me in one sense that it reduced or got rid of the the hot flashes, but it created another issue for me. I mean, this is what happened for me, or to me. And so then after that, I switched to the wild yam. You know, the wild yam cream that you can rub on you externally to prevent the hot flashes. And then, you know,
Right.
just so many other things I could tell you about. They came back and said, after I'd gone through the surgery, they came back and said, "Oh, well, we did a X-ray and we found cancer in your other breast, and we're going to do the same thing." And I said, "Oh no, we're not going to do the same thing, because, you know, I'm going to believe God, and this thing is going to be healed." So, long story short, I did not have the same type of surgery on my left breast. I never let them remove my right breast. I just let them do a lumpectomy. And what else did she do? She took out all the lymph nodes under my arm, my right armpit, and removed most of the fat in my breasts.
Oh, well, that's good. So you didn't have to have the surgery for the left side. So what other things have you done since then? And have you had your mammogram? Have they said there's nothing there?
Well, you know what, I'm gonna say answer to you, no, because I told you from 2000, it was a year-long journey, right? So from 2007 to 2008, I was still working, and I got laid off so right after I completed all my medical things that I needed to go through for the cancer. I got laid off. So I spent probably from 2008 until probably last year not having insurance. So I had to do what I thought I could do to keep myself healthy, which was I do my breast exams, and that just tells me if there's a lump or something there. I have the blood work done. And there are certain markers in your blood that let you know that something is, that I can't call it, but it tells you this. If there's something elevated in that blood marker, it tells you have something like a cancer. And and I was not able to afford insurance once I got laid off. So, and that was another thing. So that sent me further into my, well, you better take care of you journey. So, eating healthy, trying to take the right, having somebody check on my blood, and all these other things that I found through the 9 Health Fair too, because I found that there were certain things that I could pay for in there, that I could afford to pay for, that I would have done through the 9 Health Fair.
Well, see, that's the good thing. Now that's
and it was, I did get a job, probably a year or two after being laid off, but it was I made, Lord help me, something like $40,000 less than what I was making at the company. So at $11 an hour, once again, could not afford medical insurance. So that's why I say up until last year, when I got onto Medicare, it's the first time I've had insurance. And so I have been doing and going wherever I can go to get free help, as to say, okay, check this, check that. But I just believe that if it was not for the grace of God, I don't know. I don't know.
Now that's something to marvel, because psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you had to figure it out and had to find a way. And then just in the community of having breast cancer and not being able to afford insurance and going so long to, I mean, that's to me, that's faith, because people give up and they get tired and they get weary. But you seem and sound so much stronger, even going in the midst of it all. That's what's, to me, that's what I marvel about you and your journey, is that you never gave up and you figured it out. You figured a way to sustain yourself and now be totally
I did
cancer-free.
have a breast exam at one of those 9 health fairs, actually. But and I know people probably hear this all the time, but I grew closer to God during that journey because I didn't have anybody else I could lean on. I mean, who do you lean on in those types of crises?
Right.
So you might as well lean on the one who made you, the one who knows you, knows your body, you know, knows how he formed you.
Right. Because you do have friends, but they have their own lives, and then they can't possibly understand your
That's right.
core feeling.
That's right.
So, yeah. So God is,
and so,
he is.
Yeah. I mean, so what would I tell somebody else? Yeah, we have to take our own health. We have to take hold of our own health, because nobody can do that for you. Being sick is very expensive. I found out that it's cancer, multi-billion-dollar industry, right? Not million, but billion. They told me before I even got started with them, the first thing they wanted to know is if I had insurance, how I was going to pay.
See? And that's
the first thing they wanted to know.
So why not make healthy choices? Yeah, exactly. And that's what's discouraging, because you have people that want to live and may not even have insurance.
May not even have any insurance.
Whereas you had the... And when you had insurance and was working and then had to take a pay cut and had to reduce your insurance, it causes more stress. So this is what I'm saying to all the listeners out there. You know, you've got to take control of your own well-being, at least.
And you need to know, listen to your body. Your body tells you so much about how it's feeling. And you know, I mean, even it's something simple like, I ate that. I ate that. I digested it, but it's not agreeing with me. Then don't eat it anymore. You might be having some chemical reaction that maybe everybody else doesn't have, but you're having it.
Exactly. And now I know you are a Simply Julian, because I say the same thing. I say, listen to your body. Don't let someone tell you about your body. Listen to your body and sit down sometimes. Well, this has been great. And I know that I thought we would be short, but I'm just elated and no, but I think this is good, and people need to hear the truth. And as I say, that's your truth, and they need to listen to the real Skinny, because everybody's got a story. But I want to thank you for sharing your story, and just to thank all those listening, and be encouraged. Just know that we all have a story to tell, and we all are relatable some kind of way. Just free to be yourself, free to know there's always someone who will listen. And don't forget, that there's always a chance or a time to get to know yourself, to start, not to start over, but to start making healthy choices.
Exactly.
So
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Well,
Jewel. I
I
appreciate the
appreciate
time.
that. Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll get to come back and speak a little bit more on it. And we are going to try and do another music thon for the Orally Cancer Research Foundation. So you can go to simplyjewel.com and click on that purple banner at the top of the website. It'll tell you about Simply Jewel. Partnering with Dr. Green for the Orally Smith Cancer Research Foundation. And I look forward to speaking to you again, Pam, because I think this is what people need at this point and at this time that we're going through the quarantine. People need to hear real stories and just to help them along the way. We all can encourage someone. Yeah, encourage someone and let them hear there are real people in the world that have stories that we can't even imagine sometimes, or that we find that's similar to what other people are going through, and that helps people to get through their journey or their trial and error. But so I appreciate
thank you so much.
Okay, well, until next we wrap, don't forget all the other platforms, simplyjewel.com, here on Simply Jewel Atypical, and we also have Simply Jewel on patreon.com/Simply Jewel, where you can talk about these things and helpful hints on reducing stress and cancer cells. That's what Simply Jewel is all about on Patreon. So for those that have a question, comment, or concern, reach out to me and let's talk about it. Thank you for coming on Simply Jewel Atypical podcast, where we are atypical of the average. Okay,
all right,
Pam,
bye-bye.
I'll call you in a second. I'd like to thank Pamela for coming on to Simply Jewel Atypical podcast, and also to encourage ladies and gentlemen to please be proactive in your care. We never know when we're going to find a lump, or if we have cancer cells that are multiplying in our bodies. But one thing we do know is that we can be proactive, making healthy choices, eating healthy. It can be generational, it can be environmental, it can be so many different ways that we are experiencing diseases and diagnosis. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Next week, we're going to have a nurse from New York who's going to speak with us and her experience while working in the hospitals during these unprecedented times. Thanks again. Look forward to meeting up with you guys again on Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Have a good night.